Hello, YouTube friends. It's me, Sarah from The Foot. We are here today with one of my favorite little machines. This is a Singer 99K. This is a 99K. We'll talk a little bit more about 99s throughout the episode here today. But what I want to do, I want to take this machine from drab to fab. And this case is it's pretty beat up. It's pretty rough, as is this one here. I'll show you a little more later. It's not original to this machine. This whole machine is one that I sort of cobbled together. I had the machine, I think the motor was bad, and then I came across a motor for a 99, so I put that on it, and somehow I came across this old case, which it does fit in. So it's kind of all pieced together, and she sews like a dream. But the case is pretty rough, and the other day I thought, why don't we do something fun with this? I'm sure there are going to be some comments because it is wood and I'm going to paint it. But this wood is pretty rough. There's really no way to refinish this. It's a veneer, and it's just not, it's not easy to do, and I don't know how good it would look, honestly. I think we can really have some fun with some of these transfers, some chalk paint, and just make it fun. Just make it a fun little machine to look at and use. So that's what we're going to do today. It's a little bit like time travel because you guys have already seen the finished product in the beginning of the video, and I only have an idea in my mind of what it's going to look like and some ideas of what I'm going to do. So we'll see where this goes. Okay, so what I've done is I've put down an old cutting mat on my table to kind of protect my surface, and I have taken the machine out of the base. There are these two little things that stick up, and they go into two little holes kind of down here. It's hard to see, but it just slides up out of there. Sometimes there's little set screws that hold it in place. You might have to loosen those, but we've basically just taken this out. We're going to set the machine aside. Okay, so here we've got the base. One indication that this base is not original to that machine, although I already knew that, but there's a hole here. And what this hole is for, some of these machines, not 99s, but others, they would have set in here. There would have been a motor in here, and then there would have been a little lever that went in there, which was a knee controller. I have another machine like that, and I'll show you that one of these days. So we'll find a creative solution to cover that hole up, and I just use this little indent. I have some of my bobbins in here, and the original foot. I keep a little screwdriver and whatnot. So this is sturdy, but it has some damage here. Some of the stuff's coming off the bottom. It has been glued very firmly, so it's real tight, but it's got some ugliness. So we're going to use a little wood filler on that. Let's just empty this stuff out here. We're going to make this beautiful. It's going to be so fun. All right, so I got some wood filler. I went out and got this. My husband's the woodworker, so I got this from his shop. You do want to make sure you're using one that will get hard. You need it to be able to harden. So I'm going to just squeeze that in there. Let's get this to come out. So after fighting with the wood filler for a while, don't tell Dale, but I just cut the end off of the tube. It just would not come out. I think it wasn't plugged, but I think it's just gotten stiff. So I'll have to buy him another tube of wood filler. But I've just got some on my finger, and I'm just going to smear it in here. And I'm just going to smear it in any place that has a gap. Because again, I'm going to paint this, and so I'm not too worried. I just want to get any bad bits out. These corners are good. This, I think I'm just going to glue that back on. It's just a piece that's come up. The rest is good. I can just glue that and we'll be fine. So now we're going to just set this aside for the time being. Doesn't matter if the cap's on, if I've cut the end off, I don't know. But we're gonna set this aside. And we will look at the top for a minute and see what's going on here. So I'm looking at this. The veneer is all intact. It's got a few chips, which I don't mind. I think what I'm gonna do is we're just going to fill any of these little chips with some filler. My idea is to have this be kind of vintage and shabby chic looking anyway. So I'm not going for perfection here. We'll just tidy up any little bits that could look a little better. I think that's good. Okay, we're just gonna set that aside and we'll let those dry for a minute while we talk about the 99 just for a moment. 99s are fun. They're not particularly valuable. You can find them around. You can find them a lot of places. So don't be afraid to buy one if you see one. You'll know it's a 99 because it's gonna say 99 right here. This one says 99K. So the fun thing with K, when the machines have K after them on Singer, that means that they were made at the factory in Kilbury, Scotland, which is to me just so fun. Here it says made in Great Britain, but that's where they came from, is that factory in Scotland. So 99s, Singer started making them in around 1911. And here's what cracks me up. They started making them because people were looking for a lighter weight sewing machine. These are heavy, okay? But, you know, now we have, later on, they came out with featherweights and we have lightweight machines. This weighs 22 pounds just by itself. It's a heavy machine. It's not what I would consider portable, but technically it was what Singer considered their first portable machine. The other neat thing is this same machine, okay, you will find in regular with a motor, you'll find it as a hand crank, and you'll find them as a treadle. Just by removing this clutch nut and changing a couple things, you can do any one of those three things, which I think is just really clever from a manufacturing standpoint. So it's fun. Now, oftentimes they started out, they were in these bent wood cases, but later on they came in more of a suitcase type shape. You'll find all kinds out there. I don't know what year this one was made in, but on Singer machines, this is another fun tidbit. There's going to be a serial number, okay? You need to find the serial number on your Singer and you can look it up online. I'll put the link down below and find the exact year that your Singer was made for vintage Singers. So that's kind of fun. So I'll look that up when I take a break and let you know. We're not going to do too much on the machine. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there that talk about 99s and how to take care of them and how to clean them and service them and all that, and they do a wonderful job. So this one runs very well. We might give it a little oil and a little polish, but she's good to go. We're going to just keep working on this case. Okay, so my wood filler has dried and I am just giving it a very light sand. And when I say light, this doesn't have a lot of finish on it left. I just want to smooth it out, kind of get any dirt and grime off. And that wood filler just very easily smooths right out. I'm happy with that. Now let's look at the top. So I'm going to sand it this way with the grain, with the wood, ever so slightly. The hand crank I use at the cabin has a really fun case, and I'll show it to you next time I'm up there. Looks good. Let's give it a little dust. That was, whoops, knocking all my stuff over. That was just enough to give this case a little grip to help hold on to this paint. Now, on this handle, let's look. sometimes these handles were like a rivet almost, but I think, yes, it just has a look. Huh. I was about to say I have to go get a plier, but it just had a little nut. I thought for sure they both wouldn't be that easy. And then there's a little plate, these nuts. And there's the handle. Now we won't get paint on the handle. Kind of has a beautiful old patina to it. The paint's kind of off, and I like the way that looks. So I'll probably leave that alone. Okay, so I wiped all the dust off my area and I'm ready to get going. I'm going to be using chalk paint. I love chalk paint or milk paint. Those types of paints just kind of level themselves out and they're super easy to work with. This is a Waverly chalk paint. You can get this at Walmart. You can get it a lot of places. This is Celery is the name of the color. And I was thinking there's a cream that I like and one called Mineral. I was going to do that. And then I thought, if we're going to be fun, let's just be fun and do Celery. These are great and they last a long time. A jar of this goes a long way. It can get a little bit thicker and you just thin it out with some water. And if you want a washy project, you can wash it on, whatever you want to do. I've got a little dish with some water. My brush, I really like this brush. Oops, that's thread, go figure. I really like this brush and it won't go in my jar and it's kind of thick. So I thought I'm just going to pour a little, there we go. And just work from this bowl. And I added some water. I'm going to make it a little thicker. Whoops. And I'll just pour what I don't use back in my jar. I've had that for a couple years and I've done several little projects with it. So there we go. I like that. Let's just jump in with the top. So here we go. It's had a light sand. I've wiped the dust off and I'm just going to go to town. Quick note. I hear myself echoing in there. If you were concerned with color bleeding through, like if you really wanted a clean white case, it would be best to prime. This old wood, the old finish, I don't know what it is. Is it going to maybe bleed through this paint? Perhaps. That's kind of the look I'm going for anyway, so I'm good with that. But I just wanted to point that out. So here we go. We're just going to go ahead and paint this. When you do the first coat, it doesn't always cover real well, but you just want a nice, thin, even coat. I find that 2 coats typically is what I need to do. So I'm going to go ahead and coat this on the outside, and I'm going to coat the base on the outside, and we'll see what it looks like with 1 coat on so you can see. Okay, I have let my paint dry thoroughly. Actually, it's been a couple of days, but you know, overnight or even a few hours is sufficient with the chalk paint. So I couldn't be happier. I'm not sure. I'm going to do something on this inside, but for now I'm just going with the outside. I love it. It's exactly what my mind was thinking. Next, we're going to put some transfers on. These rub-on transfers are so fun. There are lots available. They can be quite expensive. They can be mid-priced. You can find them all around. I was so happy when I walked into a thrift store recently and found these for $3. I just couldn't believe it. I was so happy. I grabbed this thing before anyone else saw it. And I've had it in my head ever since. So I just opened this up because I hadn't even looked in it, but I thought, oh, I'm going to put that on here. I was thinking they were going to be black letters, which I don't know why I thought that because the picture is white, but they're all white. And I don't even think any of these have been used. I mean, this was probably at least $20 originally, so I got a pretty good deal. They come all rolled up, and there are all these designs in here. So I'm going to open it up here and look at it and decide what I want. We're going to rub some on here. There's a little stick. You just rub them on. So easy and fun to do. And it really changes the look of things. So we're going to open these up. I don't think I'm going to put any on the bottom. So I'm just going to set this aside for right now. Get those out of the way. Let's see what we've got. All right, so when I separate these pages, you can kind of better see. I think it would be fun to have some of these flowers. They kind of have a flat edge along the flat edge here. I could kind of see that. And then maybe some of these letters and words just around it. And I think with the white on this light green is gonna be so pretty and kind of softly vintage. And that's what I was thinking. So I'm just gonna take scissors and you just kind of cut what you want. So I'm just cutting around this flower shape with the flat edge. And my idea is that it's gonna kind of, I don't think centered, I think I kind of want to offset it. Something like that, I think. It's kind of my idea. There we go. You've really got to rub this one. So I'm really having to give this one a little bit of elbow grease. Maybe because it's kind of older, who knows? But I'm going to keep going at it because I'm going to make it work. It's exactly the look I wanted. So I'm just rubbing it hard, and every now and then I peel back ever so slightly to see if that design released, and I'm just going to keep going. Okay, I want to show you what I'm doing. I kind of am, these are a little bit tedious. So what I'm doing is, I found if I really hold my stick firmly and rub it in the corner here, it's releasing very well. And I will say I've used many rub-on transfers and none have given me difficulty like these are. You know what? They could be old. I'm telling you, I got them at the thrift store, so there's that. It could be that I didn't prime underneath my paint. It could be a combination of things. I'm fine with it. It's just making me more determined. I think this one's going to go well, though. There we go. Yep. That's how it should go. Here's another one. Of course, I wasn't filming when that one came out. I'm not too worried about this. I'm going to play around, but I've got some more random pieces of letters. I'm going to stick some more things on and we'll keep going. Okay, we're back. And this project has become a little more intense than I thought it would be. I think I'm on my third day here, as you could tell by my outfits, but it's really coming out just better than I could have imagined it. Let me tell you what I did. I left you, and these are my decals. I am so happy with the way they look. This side's not perfect, but I'm still loving it. And there we go. Now what I did is I went outside and I gave it a quick coat or 2 or 3 of polyacrylic. You can use any sort of sealer on top. I wanted this to be a little more durable, but let me tell you what happened. Some combination of everything going on here, when I hit it with the polyacrylic, it gave it a slight antiqued finish, a little bit of a brownish hue, if you will. I'm okay with it. I really like the way it looks, so I'm good with that. But I guess if I didn't want that, I might be disappointed. So this is what I had. It's what I wanted to use rather than a clear wax. I put the handle back on. I liked the patina that the handle had. I just sprayed the whole thing. So I love this. I'm great with it. We're down to the base. I want to make a little something for in here in this little tray. And I was thinking, well, I could glue fabric in there or felt. And then I thought, oh, that's getting a little bit of a lot. Maybe I could use some fun scrapbook paper. I was digging around and I found these pieces of cork. And I thought, oh, I could cut some cork. I thought this would work, but the blue's not right. That might be really pretty. A piece of this cork inside there. Or I was thinking I'd use a piece of scrapbook paper from this book. I'm kind of liking this. I think I'm going to use the paper. I'll just stick it in there, and then if it gets icky over time, I can just replace it. It's just a little tray for holding your bobbins and stuff. There's a little hole here. I think I'm going to look in my stash for a fun button and just put a hot glue with a vintage button right there to cover that up. And there's one loose piece at the bottom here. I'm going to stick that down, and just with some wood glue, I'll just put a little in there and stick it down. I have some little feet that I might attach to this, and then we'll call this a day. Okay, what I have done here is I have measured the size and the depth of my pieces here, okay? And what I came up with, it is 6 5/8 long. These are each 2 7/8. It's 1 7/8 inch deep. So I am going to I'm just going to use my ruler and rotary cutter because that's what I have since I'm a quilter. And I'm going to cut those pieces out just like I was cutting fabric and place them in here, and we'll see if we can't get something that fits. A project. It took longer than I thought, several days, but oh my, was it ever worth it. I couldn't be happier. Here's one side, and here's the other side. I love it. It's so much more interesting than it was before. Just look at that. I put a button right here. Hopefully it'll stick. We'll see. I used some hot glue. I've got some little feet that I want to put on there. Oh, and speaking of little feet, this is a low shank machine, and so I have put a little foot on here. I've put one of our little feet on here, which is our 1/4 inch presser foot. That's one my mom designed back before there were any 1/4 inch feet, and it works beautifully on these vintage 99s. So I've put one of those on here. I'll put a link in the description box where you can order one. Oh, whew. It's a warm day here today, and I thought it'd be nice to come out on the porch, but it's a little bit warm. So this machine was a lot of fun to do, and hopefully it inspires you to grab one of those vintage machines you have that's maybe not so nice and give it a little spruce up. As I was editing the earlier part of the video, I remembered I told you that I was going to date this machine. I will put a link in the description box below. There's a website called Ismax, and it's for dating, well, it's for all sorts of things, but you can date your Singer sewing machine. So what I did, I'm going to show you there's a serial number here. Sometimes on your featherweights or other machines, it might be underneath the machine. Either way, you're gonna go to Ismax and look up that serial number. So this one is an EL. So I found EL in the list, 573. So we're gonna look it up There were 50,000 of these machines made on August 1st, 1956. Isn't that fascinating? So I just love, I love that. So I'm kind of a geek, and it's fun to find out those fun facts. So I hope you've had fun, and I hope this inspires you to take one of your vintage things and take it from drab to fab. Thanks for joining me.